Hello and welcome back to another day in the arena. It's me, it's CGB, and today is Dragon Day. What day is it? Dragon Day. We're going to play some 5-color dragons. It's going to be ridiculous. We're going to try something new. A little change of pace. I'm going to do the deck talk at the end of the video and not at the beginning. This will lead me to talk more about interactions and cards that did show up in the games and less about cards that possibly we don't draw and there's not a lot to say about them. So yeah, if you want just the list, nothing but the list, if you just gotta have that list, check the description. It's right there for you if you just need to copy it now. You can also skip to the end if that's all you're really looking to do. So this hand has an Unsealing and some removal. If we're against a creature deck, it may hold up just fine. So we're going to keep. The idea of the deck is dragons, 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 and more dragons. Everything we do is swimming around the dragons. Ooh, our opponent opening with Fountain of Renewal and Ornithopter. Perhaps this is a paradoxical outcome deck, some kind of a combo. It's a little scary. Anyway, Banefire, sort of a dragon card, calls back to dragons, that's for sure. It's not a new card with M19, it's a reprint, and you may have played it if you played duels long enough, but it's a sweet card. Spitflame is a new card with M19, which has some awesome dragon synergies I hope we get to. But Sarkhan's Unsealing. Whenever you cast a creature spell with power 4, 5, or 6, 4 damage to any target. And when you ever cast a creature spell with power 7 or greater, 4 damage to each opponent and everything they control. Pretty awesome. We are running all 5 colors to play all kinds of dragons in this deck. Hopefully you'll see some crazy ones, and Unclaimed Territory helps with that, as do a few other cards. White mana, Song of Freylease. I feel like I'm up against a very new and very interesting combo deck, and there's not a lot I can do right now as far as competing with it. So I'll just make these plays and say go. We are on a bit of a slower side here, and our Ornithopter can make mana. That means Shalai is going to come out. Okay. The thing about that, thank goodness, is Spitflame. Spitflame is 4 damage to target creature. We want to do it right now before our opponent untaps. We don't want to risk them being able to make a play, such as protecting this with a Blossoming Defense or something of that nature. So, down. Down, girl. So this is a very tame Song of Freylease, and I'm not sure what this Fountain of Renewal does yet. So far, all we've gotten is a counter for the Ornithopter, which isn't very scary. And the Johnny's Pride Mate, that combos with Fountain of Renewal and become very large. Whenever you gain life, you may put a +1/+1 counter on the Pride Mate. So next upkeep 3/3, the next upkeep 4/4. Fortunately, by then, Glorybringer should be ready to go. So right here, right now, I think I will play this hub. Continue to just kind of scare our opponent with our options. They might think we're a strange control deck at this point. Here is Sarkhan's Unsealing. The Spitflame and the Unsealing should give away that we are into dragons. Now right now I only have 1 dragon, that's Glorybringer. I'm going to need some top deck love in the form of many more sweet dragons. Ixalan's Binding will take out the Unsealing, which is frustrating, but I think we only run 2 of them. It's unlikely that I'll get punished too much by most of the aspect of that binding. So here's a Summit, here's a Glorybringer. Let's get rid of that Pride Mate. Just a legitimately super strong card. Not going to wait till next turn to get back the Spitflame. We have to make sure this Pride Mate dies before it gets too big. Our opponent on 1 card. We are essentially on 1 card with Banefire and a bunch of land, but our Glorybringer is better than this Ornithopter. So our opponent needs something powerful. Here's a Fountain of Renewal and another Ornithopter. I find the Ornithopter side of their deck unusual. Also, this one didn't attack, but Glorybringer didn't untap, so I'm not sure why. However, we drew another new card and a kind of a Lord of the Dragons, so to speak. This is Sarkhan. He's a Planeswalker. I want to discard a card and to draw a card. I definitely can discard some of these lands. That would make me happy. For the +1, you can get 2 mana for your dragons, and the -7 gives you 4 dragons. So when it comes to dragons, this dude knows about dragons. He's going to talk about it. Let's listen to him.
He told me I would find you here.
That's pretty weird. I don't know what he's talking about there. He definitely has a quote where he says, "What do you know of dragons?"
I don't need this. I need this.
That's a very nice rummage quote, of course. And we hit a Magma Spray. So I'm going to play the territory and name Dragon, and we'll pass the turn. Our opponent may sacrifice a Renewal Fountain to draw a card. I certainly would in the face of this board, but our opponent decides to keep the Renewal Fountains, putting an emphasis on their life gain. And what do we have? It is a land. Okay, perhaps Ornithopter. No, Ornithopter is still not interested in attacking. Glorybringer untaps, another land off the top. Let's try to draw something better.
Bolas told me I should do this.
Okay, so Bolas says kind of thing. Maybe that's who he meant earlier when he said, "He told me I'd invite you here." Whatever that was. Alright, I'm going to cycle this Sheltered Thicket. Don't need more land, need more dragon. It's another Planeswalker. There's something to be said to just playing this and using it right away, even though it's not mana efficient, because what we really need are more dragons, and this gets us deeper in the deck, and the ultimate is very unlikely. And for the sake of the video and the entertainment value, I think I'm going to make that play today. It's not always wrong to legend rule your own Planeswalkers.
What know you of dragons?
There it is. What know you of dragons, indeed. So...
I'll show you Unhinged.
Unhinged is a set. Don't know if you knew that. I don't know what's up with these Ornithopters. I'm going to exert again, because I just feel like there's some synergy I'm missing with this Ornithopter that is probably completely unnecessary. But I feel pretty well covered the rest of the time with these Magma Sprays. So I'm going to exert the dragon one more time. The Fountains of Renewal mean the clock isn't that fast, so if I'm just attacking every turn and not exerting, I don't think it's going to take a lot longer than usual for me to kill my opponent. And I don't think that holding back my dragon to block is fun either. What I really want to do is find more big dragons. I have the mana to cast them. Crested Sunmare. Oh no! Fortunately, Banefire can stand up to the Horse Tribe, but there will be a 5/5 at the end of this, and it's going to be nasty. So the Sunmare must die. Sarkhan might die to that 5/5. Let's see if we can rummage into a dragon. We certainly haven't been able to so far.
Don't doubt my methods.
Wow. It's simply not in the cards today. Let's make sure we get all this tap mana and 1, 2, 3. Yeah, this is fine. So you go to 5, and we blast the Sunmare. As blasting the horse, it's indestructible, and the Sunmare would just make more horses. We'll play the land. We're not going to need it to rummage anymore, as Sarkhan is most certainly about to die. So that was a good reason not to exert the Glorybringer in total hindsight. If we had a Glorybringer to exert this turn, we could have killed both the 5/5 horse and the 5/5 Sunmare, and I probably should have thought about that. It's been a while since I got Sunmared.
Don't stop now!
That was an interesting series of sound effects. Pillar of Origins off the top. Let's go ahead and exert. Take down the horse. With the help of the Magma Spray. Do we play the Pillar of Origins? Our dragons at most cost 7. I'd like to hold a land or a Pillar of Origins in case I draw yet another Sarkhan off the top. And we do run 4, so it makes sense that I might draw another Sarkhan. So I think I'll just hold on to the Pillar or the next land I find. An opponent's considering a chump block. It's kind of odd. But here we go. Maybe they want to draw a card with that Fountain of Renewal now? I certainly would. But our opponent still valuing the life gain, and it's hard to blame them after the Crested Sunmare did Crested Sunmare things. Perhaps there's a Resplendent Angel, something like that, to come from the deck. I'm still amazed by the Ornithopter plan. I feel like there's a piece I'm missing, and we finally drew it. We cut through enough cards, and we got the Chromium, the Mutable, Esper Colors, and 4/7/7 Flash. Spell can't be countered. Shouldn't be relevant here. but it flies, and you can discard a card to make it a 1/1 human with hexproof. So if somebody points a removal spell at it, you can respond by discarding a card to make it hexproof, which is another good reason to keep cards in the hand in this game. Also, because it has flash, we can just keep it in our hand for right now. If we had one more land, we could get back the Spit Flame, but I'd rather have the Pillar of Origins protection for it. I don't think the Spit Flame is pressingly important at the moment. Our opponent's also flooding a bit. And now we will play our Haymaker champion. Our black mana can come out of here. Here's white, here's blue. Ta-da, Esper. That animation's funny as just this tiny little human pops up. Another Magma Spray off the top. Could Magma Spray the Ornithopter to quicken the clock? Yeah, I don't like it. I don't know what the Ornithopter is doing, but spending a Magma Spray on it seems foolish when any card I discard can counter a removal spell. Just save the cards. Here's the fountain going off. We can use our end turn button now to click through our phases a little faster. It will, if the opponent did play something, it will pause now and let us respond to it. It's one of the updates with M19. I know I mentioned it in other videos, but I probably can't mention it too many times. It was a problem in the previous versions of the game that you would hit the end turn button, and if the opponent played something, you would get no chance to respond. I should have switched my avatar to Sarkhan for the sake of the dragon deck. If I remember to, I'll go for it. So this is an interesting hand. We have an early removal spell, we have a mid-range dragon, and we have a cycling land, so we have a mystery card. If this were a 6-card hand, I'd be really happy with it. If this cycling just turns into another land, I'm very kind of cool on the hand, but I think I can keep it given the colors that I have. And the way I want to sequence it is Crag first, Unclaimed or Aether Hub second, cycle this, and then go from there. Because Crag only enters untapped if you control a mountain. This is a mountain, but we want to cycle it. These, despite the look, are not mountains. And Nicol, Bolas the Ravager comes off the top. One of the big reasons to try out this deck. A Grixis-colored 4-mana dragon. Oh boy. I've already made at least a video with Bolas. There will probably be many more to come. So we don't want to spend too much time on all the abilities. You can certainly check this crazy wild card out. It's a very fun card. And if we get to flip it and do absurd things, it's going to be a good day. Alright, our opponent's Evolving Wild end step activation requires our attention. End turn turned on in case our opponent just passes through phases. They have a Search for Arcana. Let's just cycle this. Another territory. Wow. Alright. So if our opponent's on a control deck, we're not favored by quite a bit. We need a lot of things to work in our favor to make all these dragons do awesome, including having Chromium show up nice and on time. The dragon who took home the last game. But we'll see just how much our opponent's into the Search of Arcana for Azcanta. Are they just going to be a counterspell deck? Are they mid-range? Do they have some creatures as well? Do they play the Scarab God? I'm not sure. We'll have to find out. Field of Ruins, probably going to blow something up here. And I think the only thing to get is a mountain, and that's fine. Opponent's doing a lot of clicking. However, if they do use the field now... Oh, a Mind Rot. Discard 2 cards. Well, I will discard the removal spells, as I don't foresee them to be particularly useful in the game. If our opponent turns around and slams like a Glint Sleeve Siphoner, I'll feel bad, but we can still get the Spit Flame back later. So I think that's an easy discard. Against a deck that's posing like a control deck, we want to be unleashing threats. Dragon. And speaking of threats... Get out of this if you can. Animation! Opponent gets the nice. Gives us the nice. And they're going to discard a Search for Azcana, which I'm sure they wanted to discard. It leads their search to flipping faster. There are some downsides to using Bolas to make our opponents discard. A big one is against Hazoret, where their Hazoret comes online quicker. Another one is Search for Azcana, if they wanted to discard anyway. Godpharaoh's Gift also has an effect like this. And our opponent might be... They might have a Vraska's Contempt here. I find that pretty likely. So the question is, do we want to hit him for 4 and have them counter the Sarkhan, or do we want to soak up the Vraska's Contempt? I think we'll just attack first and see if they want to make that play. They keep touching the Bolas, which tells me it's not going to live. Ah, a murder. Well, it's not quite a Vraska's Contempt. Let's hope they don't have one, because I think I want to play Sarkhan here and have the chance to try kicking this next turn. Sarkhan is not a dragon, so Unclaimed Territory cannot produce mana to play him. That's why we had to use the Aether Hub for the red mana. And we'll loot away our other Unclaimed Territory. So we do have a double red source if we need it. And we draw a mountain. I'll just play this one that is tapped this turn, but if we decide to rummage our mountain away in the future, I'd rather have the Clifftop Retreat on the battlefield to help cast funky dragons. Search for Azcana is getting really close to flipping and is definitely an annoying card to have to deal with later. But our opponent hasn't played like they have a counter spell. They're playing sorcery speed threats. They did hold up their murder, but they used it before combat instead of waiting till end step. Leads me to believe this Verix might have a chance. I want to hold this land because I may still want to rummage it with Sarkhan. So we're going to add 2 mana in any combination of colors.
Might demands power.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, I'm going to play the land and get back to Spitflame. The dragon has to enter the battlefield, which is sad, but I think it's worth trying. And let's make sure we use these. We don't have to use them for red. I'm just being careful, I guess you could say. And kick it. Does our opponent play the counter spell? They opt. Well, that means it will likely resolve, and a murder does not clean up both of them. 1 to the top is scary. Spitflame in the graveyard is going to ask if we'd like to pay red to return it to our hand since we resolved a dragon, and we are going to say yes. As soon as our opponent gets around to reading the Spitflame and understanding the interaction we've created. They might be considering a Field of Ruin here. I would just tap this for mana in response. And now Spitflame's in our hand, and even if we don't shoot it at anything, we can rummage it away with Sarkhan to try to turn it into a card. A relevant card. Search for Azcana on 7 is going to flip this turn if our opponent wants it to. Fortunately, they will at that point have 6 mana, and 4 of them would have to be used to activate these Azcana. So our goal now is to keep pressure on our opponent and make it awkward for them to activate the search. Since we do have the dragon advantage at the moment, and another hasty dragon on the way, it's a doable thing. It may be difficult, but it should be doable. The Torment of Scarabs. Well, that's not a scary card at this stage in the game. I'm going to definitely pay life at this point, because we are certainly going to win a race. And if our opponent's going to tap mana for something, that is a good something. All right, let's discard a card and draw a card. Let's discard the Spitflame because we can get it back. And we hit a Dragon's Hoard. So we want this in play when we cast our dragons, because every time a dragon enters the battlefield, we put a counter on this, and then we can remove them to draw cards. So if we play this, we can also play the Glorybringer, but we can't get back the Spitflame. However, because we can draw an extra card with the Hoard, I think it's better to have the Hoard. A counter on the Dragon's Hoard than it is to have a Spitflame. So cast you, play our land out, cast you, and we'll say done. And we'll go all attack with no exerting, of course. The default if you use the all attack button is that your creatures do not exert. And with no creature to breathe fire on with our Glorybringer, not exerting is a great idea. And our opponent can't take it. They've seen enough. They're out of here. Too much dragon. All right, some prize money. Bring it on in. Stack the paper. A gold opponent awaits. Alright, we have a Pillar, a Spitflame, an Unsealing, and a Glorybreaker. It's sad that Pillar can't play the Unsealing, but I think we can still try this hand. And this is a case where we want to play our Slough tapped right away. We're not going to be cycling this. We want to hit our land drops. We have a lot of goods. We just want to make sure we play them. And a green mana source. Okay. Another mana source that can play the Unsealing, but we'll get our Pillar out there. Named Dragon. Red-green for the opponent, and they say go. I wonder if we have a Dino Dragon showdown. So we have an interesting spot where I could just jam a Verix. Or I could wait to unseal. And I think I want to try waiting to unseal. I feel like our opponent wouldn't keep a hand that for 3 turns did nothing in a creature-type deck. So I have a feeling I'm about to see a Brontodon, which I'm really going to want to Spitflame. So I'm going to pass the turn. And then, of course, we can get the Spitflame back later. So it's sort of a value play as well. Ah, there is a creature. And it is not a Brontodon, but it is something we're Spitflaming. It is Halar the Fire Fletcher, which is a 3/3 Trample Elf Archer. And if my opponent plays a kicked spell, then the Fletcher gets a +1/+1 counter and does damage to me equal to the number of counters on it. So our opponent may be on some kind of a kicker deck or perhaps a red-green elf deck. And this is as a 3/3 creature with trample and some synergy with the rest of the deck is worth killing. So let's do it. I guess my opponent holding some priority there. Anyway, this comes down, this comes out. I very much don't want to see a Brontodon now, as the Unsealing is a pretty clutch card. Okay, ooh, we drew a big one. So what I can do here is I can play a Pillar of Origins and a Bladewing. I can play a Glorybringer unkicked. The Pillar of Origins sets me up to play Vaevictis, Asmadi, the Dire, which is a very fun Elder Dragon with all kinds of abilities. Does some crazy random stuff. When you attack with it, it's kind of like Etali. I blow up a permanent of the opponent's, and I blow up a permanent of my own, and we both like flip permanent. So I definitely want that to happen, like no question. So let's go ahead and resolve this Pillar, naming Dragon. And rather than wait for kicker, I'm going to resolve a Bladewing now and be like ahead on the board, make my opponent deal with it. And since we resolve a 4-power creature, Sarkhan's Unsealing does 4 damage to any target. So we'll just take that right upstairs. It's like giving our Bladewing haste, almost. But it can also target planeswalkers. It can also blow up creatures. By the way, our opponent, Sulfur Falls. So perhaps something even spicier on the way is a Tadiova. Oof, I'm sorry, Tadiova. I have to kill you now. We're going to play the Dire, and the Dire is going to deal 4 damage to the Tadiova. Again, we're not getting Spitflame yet. Hey, how you doing, buddy? That was a cool little animation moment. I feel like I'm watching whatever the Harry Potter is, where they all have to fight dragons. And Tadiova returns. So does our opponent also have the land drop? They do. Gain a life, draw a card, living the dream. However, I plan to be quite the dream breaker here with my turn. because here we go. Alright, we're going to play Glorybringer. We're going to use the Unsealing to kill this druid. Oof. And our opponent's going to scoop it, unfortunately. I would have loved to see what happens with the Dire, but that is, of course, going to turn out to be lethal when all is said and done. All right, well, we got to see some different kinds of decks instead of the mono reds and the controls, and our dragon deck actually performed really well. Let's go look at the list. So here's what we're up to. This version isn't trying to be the most sensible deck, not even close. In fact, this version of the deck is just all in on casting huge dragons. We're using all the dragons payoffs. So 4 on the Spit Flames. All right, you don't have to run 4. You can run some Abrades or something more sensible. I'm running 4 Spit Flames. I'm also running 4 Sarkhans, the Firebloods, and 4 Dragons Hoards to make sure that I'm casting my dragons early, along with 4 Pillar of Origins. Cultivator's Caravan is a good substitute here if you don't have all your Hoards, but there's nothing quite like a Sarkhan. Some people just play Chain Whirler here so that they don't get run over by token decks before their dragons happen. You can do that, but man, Sarkhan is Sarkhan. It's one of the reasons to play. Then we got Magma Spray. 4 Magma Spray because it's really a good play to turn 3, play the Dragon's Hoard, and then play a Magma Spray. We didn't see that happen, but that's the main reason I'm favoring Magma Spray here. Again, you could get some Abrade in there. We do have a Banefire for the flavorful finish. Then 2 of those Unsealings that you just saw. 4 Glorybringers because they're probably, like, as far as actual playability, actual power cards that can go in a lot of decks, they're probably the strongest dragon. Anyway, aside from that, here's the spice. We got a Verix Bladewing who showed up. We got 2 Nicol, Bolas, the Ravagers hanging out. We got a Bone Dragon, which we never got to quite see the action on, but you can loot him away with Sarkhan and then bring him back out of the graveyard. We got a Dragon Queen, which makes 5/5s every time you resolve a dragon. There's Asmadi, who didn't quite get to do his thing, but has a sweet animation. Palladia-Mors, which is another fun Elder Dragon from the latest set. Chromium, and Darigaaz Reincarnated from Dominaria. So, dragons. Over on the mana base, we have a lot of one-ofs to just kind of spread our colors out, but I do think it is right to play 12 basic mountains so that you have a good amount of untapped lands entering the battlefield, giving you all the red sources you need. And then after that, we play Sulfur Falls, Canyon Slough, Dragonskull Summit, the Crag, the Thicket, the Retreat, just trying to spread our colors out and give us a chance to cast our Elder Dragons if we don't have a Sarkhan and if we don't have multiple Pillars and Hoards, as those are usually the best ways to cast them. But as you saw, the flavor in the mana base didn't cost us too much. Most of the time your lands enter untapped and do what you need. 2 Aether Hubs and 4, count them, 4 Unclaimed Territories. What do they name? They name dragons. Well, I hope you enjoyed our 5-color dragon deck tech and gameplay today. I certainly did. Getting to play big flying monsters is a lot of fun. So go out there and try some 5-color dragons and have a good time. For today, for right now, and until Nighthawk comes back to claim his catchphrase with a proper video, not a where I've been video, though it was nice to hear from him, but with a proper deck tech and video. Until he comes back to claim it, I'm using it. I will see you later.